Hello and welcome to a look at Hudson Hawk for the Amiga, a game that was made by Special Effects for Ocean, and it is a movie tie-in, and you can probably imagine the title of the movie. When it comes to the film movie, call it what you want, I've seen it once, 30 years ago, and it wasn't for me memorable enough to actually remember much of it. I remember the songs and I remember the general plot, but I can't remember details, so I wouldn't know how close the plot of this game is tied to the movie. But in this game, Hudson Hawk, of course, being a very skilled cat burglar, is being encouraged to acquire some Leonardo da Vinci inventions even for a certain group, and they encourage him by kidnapping his best friend. The bad guys want to use said invention things, whatever, to create this machine that can turn things to gold, and they want to dominate the world market by creating an awful lot of gold, effectively making it worthless, but never mind, doesn't matter, details. So of course Hudson Hawk has been indirectly, involuntarily tasked with rescuing his friend by stealing a set of items, and for some bizarre reason that kind of plot has been turned into a platform game. A platform puzzle game, I should say, because there's some minor puzzles involved, mainly, as you saw before, moving some boxes together in order to create a stepping stone, basically, and there will be switches to hit and that kind of stuff. In the game, there are 3 levels, each in which Hudson Hawk steals one of the 3 items, and then it goes on from there. At least that is what is being said by the manual, because I have no clue as to what happens after stage 3. You'll get to see that for yourself. Now, turning a movie like that into a platformer seems a bit bizarre, but despite that fact, it's not a bad platformer. But it's definitely not a great one either. It actually pains me, because when I was playing this, 80% of me wants to like it so badly, and 20% of me can't get myself to do so. Let's get over the graphical sound stuff thing. It doesn't actually look too bad, in all honesty. The graphics are appropriately clear and clean. You can easily see what everything is supposed to be. I know that's a very vague description, but I mean, the graphics are definitely not bad, but they're not necessarily epically great either. Not bad for an Amiga platform of that time, I would say, but still, it probably could have been looking more glowy, shiny, whatever. The main character of Hudson Hawk is a bit more handsome and agile than his real-life counterpart, but that's up to the individual, I suppose. The music is a bit quiet. I don't know whether it says piece of music inspired by anything from the film. I wouldn't know, because as I said, I watched the film 30 years ago, so I have no recollection of the movie's theme, so I don't know whether that is connected or inspired or whatever. But I mean, it's not bad, but it's just very subtle. I suppose it's appropriate for this type of game. The sound effects are a bit hit and miss, I would say. I do like some of them, but I also find some of them a bit misplaced, is a good word. A bit flat, perhaps. But overall, from the graphical and the sound department, I don't actually have any complaints about this game. The gameplay being a platformer and mini puzzle kind of thing is actually quite enjoyable, and in all honesty I do like the pacing of the game. You will have to keep moving because you have a somewhat stricter timer, at least on certain sections, and it feels responsive as such, the movement of the graphics. But I mentioned something about 20% of me that can't get myself to love this game, and that is the controls. Hudson Hawk, for some bizarre reason, I mean it's momentum based movement, so of course once you let go of the joystick he will not stop immediately, he will slow down and then stop. It's something that's a bit annoying to get used to initially, but once you get the hang of it, that's not so bad. Jumping onto a ledge like that, or trying to at least, you need to remember to hold up while jumping so that you actually get hold or grab hold of the ledge, and yeah. The problem is, in a momentum based game, you need to be able to have full control over said momentum, and that is where this game falls flat on its face. Hudson Hawk moves like he's running on ice covered in generous layers of oil and other slaky substances you can find and think of. The controls are so incredibly slippery, it's not even funny. And of course, when you start getting precision jumping that requires a certain amount of momentum, you can imagine how absolutely adorably enjoyable that becomes. Hint, not an awful lot. And when I initially looked at this game, I didn't expect much from it, but it sort of caught me. I do like its graphical style and its sense of humor and that kind of stuff, but the controls, I mean the controls are responsive as such, but it's just because they're so incredibly slippery, it just ruins everything. I would have preferred if I moved to left, my character would move left, and then when I stopped moving left, my character would stop. Even jumping straight up gives you forward momentum, and you still can retain control over the character in mid-air, but it becomes a wonky mess, and it's a shame, because I was very prepared to dismiss this game outright, but to be honest, there's so many good things about it. The pacing is something that I fully enjoy about it. And I would personally love to see someone speedrun this, but it wouldn't be me, because I just wouldn't have the patience for it. You know the feeling when you get a game, or you try a game, and initially you what the hell is this? And then you give it a bit of a chance, and then you play it a bit more, and then that's not actually half bad. And then very early on in the game, it throws you into a section where you, because of control issues or other issues, you struggle. And while it is quite possibly possible to get past those sections, you know that you have to replay up until that point before you get to the section that's giving you issues, and if it's still giving you issues, you have to replay the same bits over and over again. Now, while I do find this game enjoyable to a certain point, I didn't necessarily found it enjoyable enough to spend several hours trying to perfect this stage. So at this stage, I will be fumbling around a bit, trying to get my jumps right and miss. I'm not saying that's not entirely my own fault, but I think anyone who's played this game will acknowledge that the controls are extremely slippery. As a movie tie-in, I fail to see what it's got to do with the movie, but it doesn't make the it doesn't change the fact that the game is not bad at all. The problem is where it's bad, it ruins the game. Absolutely ruins the game. I can't confirm that when you initiate movement, you have to have a certain amount of movement before the jump occurs, but Hudson Hawk seems to have certain issues making jumps at lower speeds, and it just becomes, as you can see, a fight with, or against, I should say, the controls as much as the gameplay of the game. And yeah, so close, but no cigar. If the controls had been much more tight and far less slippery, I would probably have found this game infinitely more enjoyable. And as I said earlier, there's an 80% of me that really wants to love this game, but because of the controls, I just can't. But I can't hate it. I can't hate it. It's not bad until it's bad, and then it stinks, unfortunately. Thanks for watching. Take care. See you next time. Bye bye for now.